There you go, and I will let you know. Okay, it's starting. All right. Hello, everybody. It's Sebastien again for this week new Pulse. Another great guest that is going to introduce himself in a few moments. So a little bit about PosterLab, and then we go straight into the topic. So PosterLab, what are we? Our aim is to help large organization to structure and scale the collaboration they have with their open innovation partners. What it means is that it means we help them to map the ecosystem of partners. Who are they? What do they know? What did they do with them so far? And help them, let's say, to onboard their external innovation partners in the co-working space so they can systematically run open innovation from ID to market in a systematic manner, which is in today's world where innovation is more and more complex, kind of very important thing. So today we are super lucky. We have Daniel on board with us. Just quick, how did I met Daniel? Actually, I was lucky enough to meet Daniel in Stockholm a couple of weeks ago, as Daniel was a speaker in the UIDP conference. UIDP, by the way, have a look at it. UIDP is a very great organization that is trying to foster collaboration in between academia and organization. Very, very interesting content. And this is where I met Daniel. So, Daniel, I give you the floor. Present yourself, and then we go straight into the question. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Hey, Sebastien, thank you, and hello to everybody listening out there. So yeah, nice to be invited. It's been a great session back in Sweden, and so yeah, let's a little bit introduce myself. So my name is Daniel Hajas. I'm the innovation manager at the Global Disability Innovation Hub. We are a research and practice center driving disability innovation for a fairer world. So what that means in practice is that we essentially are coming in two parts. There's an academic research center based at University College London, so we are based out of England. But then there's also a community interest company who fulfills the counterpart to research and teaching, and within the company we do lots of innovation work as well as program implementation. So just to give you an idea, we have partners across 40 different countries globally, and we reached so far 28 million people since we were founded back in 2016. So we really do quite a lot in disability innovation.
Okay, cool. Very good. Thank you very much, Daniel, for this intro. So, topic of our discussion of this week Pulse is going to be about this collaboration industry, university, and how they manage partnership in the context of disability innovation. So, first question. I always have the same question each time in my Pulse. Okay, please frame this topic from your own perspective.
Sure. Well, I think, it's fair to add a little bit of the personal intro as well. So I am a blind individual. So I lost my sight back in 2010. And, I was quite lucky because driven by my curiosity, I managed to overcome some of the challenges I had to face, from the fact that I lost my sight. This was just before university. I was determined to study sciences, physics in particular. But, when you're blind, it's not really straightforward to how to read equations or how to interpret graphs and so on. So I came across this whole idea of assistive technology and later disability innovation. So let's kind of talk about those a little bit. So assistive technology, as defined by the World Health Organization, is actually more than just assistive products. It's really the system and the services around delivering and repairing and maintaining these products. But really the idea is to help improve the functioning of individuals and therefore kind of improve their overall well-being. So it's a quite complex topic, but if you want to think about assistive products, the first things that people usually think about is things like hearing aids, wheelchairs, eyeglasses, but of course there's a lot more other things. For example, what I use on a day-to-day basis is called a screen reader. So it's a piece of software that reads out what's on digital devices. And why is it important? It's important because there's more than 1 billion people who need assistive technologies, and there is a shocking number of people who don't actually have access to it. So it's roughly 900 million people who don't actually have access to the assistive products that they would need. To kind of give a specific example, in Kenya, we believe that, at least 100,000 people would need a wheelchair, but only about 5,000, so sort of 5% of them actually have access to it. And, this is typically a lot worse in low resource settings, but the picture is not that great in high income countries either. So the whole idea around disability innovation is to come up with assistive products that are suitable and more appropriate than what we have in some cases, but also to innovate in terms of like the services that come around it. The whole idea of, should disability innovation seen as a charitable sector, or should it be seen as maybe social enterprise, or even, for profit with positive outcomes? So there are quite big, systematic questions where we work with all sorts of stakeholders, from government to industry to universities. So it's a big topic, but we can in the next sort of 15 minutes nail it down a little bit more.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much, Daniel, for this point. So let me go into the next question we have. So obviously you've been talking about several stakeholders. So when I hear several stakeholders, when I hear innovation, I'm thinking co-creation, co-design. So can you maybe explain us some couple of examples? How did you develop potentially assistive product, assistive services in this co-innovation, co-creation context?
Sure. So again, I think there is, multiple stages we can think of, but I'll start, at the beginning of the value chain. So typically, research and development. And a recent and a very good experience, a very good example of co-design research work is my research collaboration with the MIT visualization group. So it just happened that due to my blindness and my PhD in human-computer interaction, I got involved in a piece of research where the main question was, how can we make, data visualizations like a scatter plot or a bar chart that you would find in a news article when you're browsing the web? How could we make those accessible to blind people who use screen reader technologies? And, it wasn't the typical approach that what you would see in most research groups and heads down for the exceptions. And I think we start to see more and more of these. But very often research groups think they know what's the real problem, whereas they don't actually do that. And what happens is that they have an assumption, they have a hypothesis around the disability and the need, the kind of gap that they might be filling with a new innovation or technology. But it turns out that they essentially bake the solution and then try and validate that with 30, 40 users through some sort of user study. And either they kind of validate it to some extent, but not in a way that it can have serious impact out in the industry, for example, or it just completely fails and then they have to sort of start again. So a much better way of doing it is actually from the very first moment of coming up with the research question, and as well as defining the research question, why not involve somebody who actually has the lived experience of a certain disability? So in my case, that was blindness. And my role in the collaboration was really to kind of bring in my day-to-day experiences, like what it is that I struggle with when trying to access data on a visualization, why some of the problems are problems, because there might be many interpretations. Work together for sort of 6 months, a year, come up with really solid sort of prototypes and kind of concepts, which then you can validate. And just to say that co-design is an important part of it, but it doesn't mean that now you don't need user studies and validation, because if you meet one blind person, it doesn't mean that you know everything about the blind community. There's big differences in terms of personal preferences, so you still need to do larger kind of scale user studies and use statistical methods to validate ideas, to find themes and different approaches. But fundamentally, co-design and co-creation is a big part of disability innovation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Daniel. Actually, we've been talking a little bit about co-design. Could you maybe dig a little bit deeper into this phase of the innovation lifecycle, please?
Yeah, sure. So, co-design can happen at the research level where I kind of a little bit outlined, but also, co-design can also happen, for example, at the government level, where you have to bring in policies. So it's one thing to develop a new sort of service or product innovation, but we do need at the higher levels some commitment to make sure that this gets implemented across the innovation ecosystem. So often, this could be an assistive technology or disability strategy, sometimes framed as a rehabilitation strategy, because there are, both economic, social, and health benefits to people using these products. So, that's just a slightly different style of co-design as well, and at the policy level. But I don't think there's a really good blueprint. The co-design process will vary from project to project and the objectives that people want to achieve. But I think the goal is that from the moment you start to brainstorm about the different ideas, both research and innovation, you need to have at least one, possibly more people who are really experts in both the disability itself and possibly the kind of research domain. So when I say I had an expertise in blindness, my lived experience, but I also had the, let's say, theoretical foundations to how to do human-computer interaction or interaction design type research, and sometimes you need all of these to kind of cook a nice co-design research project.
Okay, thank you very much, Daniel. So we've been talking a bit about the challenges and the best practices. Would you like to go a little bit deeper on this topic? Let's say from your experience, would you maybe help people that are working on these topics, some tips and tricks? I mean, not tips and tricks, I would say challenges and best practices.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we often say that disability innovation is a wicked problem. So there is quite a big range of factors at interplay, and sometimes the assistive technology sector is kind of also spoken as a sector of sectors. When you speak to economists, they say that the market needs shaping, and some say, well, actually the market needs making. So one of the biggest challenges really to understand and push through the whole sort of innovation ecosystem. So the co-design is really just the beginning to understand the user needs and wants. But then how do you get the research out to industry, for example, and what are the guarantees that innovation will have some sort of mass market appeal? How is it going to be scalable and sustainable? It's just some of the challenges we basically face in every project that we deal with. And the thing is that there isn't really one size fits all solution. So maybe you manufacture a wheelchair, but the thing is wheelchairs come in so many different types. There's wheelchairs that are manually propelled. Some are kind of have a powered solution behind them. Some are for children, some are for adults, some are for sports, some are for rough terrain in let's say a low resource setting. So it's not like you can solve the problem of wheelchair production, let's say looking at global supply chains or local production solutions. So it's very fragmented, and it's very difficult to find a way to make it a coherent market, which means it's very difficult to even sell the idea to investors. So there's a constant reliance on grant funding, and for example, 80 startups in the early stages very often kind of bounce around grant-funded programs and accelerators. So it's just very difficult to become investment ready. And then the other part of the coin in terms of challenges is really what sometimes we refer to as orphan technologies or bespoke technologies. So in some cases you might have a type of disability which only a small number of people have all around the globe. And those people still want and need some sort of support and solution. And there are open innovation, open source projects out there. But then the question is, who is responsible for, things that would normally need certification? What if somebody gets injured? So there's quite a lots of questions around ethics and morale and safety, which are not really, the systems aren't really there just yet to answer some of these questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Daniel. We are slowly going towards the end of the Pulse. Last question. I always like this one because it's forward thinking a little bit. How do you see this space? How do you see these challenges, or how do you see it in 5 years from now? What do you see coming?
Super exciting question. I would love to have my colleagues here and chip in. I think it's very difficult to see, but one trend we start to see is really, there is lots of stigma around disability and there's lack of awareness, but that's improving. And also what's improving, I think it's becoming higher on the agenda of big corporate companies. You hear quite a lot from big companies like Apple or Google or Nike to put lots of emphasis on disability. The public transport is getting better. It's getting higher on the sort of government agenda and so on. And with things like AI and language models and so on, there's lots of new innovation which will help people to live better lives. So, I want to see in the next 5 years that we move away from this concept of that disabilities are only sort of a charitable cause. I think there is plenty of innovation opportunity where businesses can survive as for-profit, kind of as a social enterprise for positive impact. And we shouldn't think of assistive technologies as something that is let's say something that businesses need to donate. It's something that if people need and they can justify, and there is the support system around to make it affordable, then there's no reason why we should think of it as a charitable sector. But then in technologies themselves, I think a little bit adjusting to people's preferences. So if you think about a screen reader, it might be that a female voice is reading out some text, but it might be that I prefer a male voice reading out the text to me. So, individual preferences will always interplay into the solutions, and that won't be just templates. So, maybe an example that most people will, I think, identify with, if you go on Wikipedia, it's to some extent an accessibility feature that you can switch a language from, French to English to German and so on. Because otherwise, if you're not native in the language, the article is not accessible. And I would like to see something similar for disabilities. So you would have a preference selector, like, hey, I happen to have ADHD. Can I have a little bit more images than text? Or hey, I'm blind. Just don't bother with images. Give me more descriptive paragraphs instead. So that sort of level of customization. But yeah, I think we have a lot to do until then, and really, I just want us, like all stakeholders, governments, investors, industry, academic institutions, to really work together and help people like myself who do really appreciate when we get some help with our disabilities.
Okay, very good. I love when we were preparing this post, we were talking about preferences. I love it, because for me, preferences is you can have people are digesting information in a completely different manner. So you may have this preference list, and that let's say you may have some disabilities or not, but you may decide, okay, I'm going to read it like that because it speaks to me better, even though I may not have such kind of disability, but at least the way the message is being displayed, visualized, is better for me. So for me, it's I love this idea about preferences.
Exactly, and I think that's a whole new other 20 minutes about the topic of inclusive design. Just because disability and assistive technologies are interrelated doesn't mean that it's not good for other people. If you have a ramp, for someone in a wheelchair, it's very helpful for people who maybe just gone through a pregnancy, they have a buggy and a baby to carry and so on, or you just broke your leg. So that the whole idea of inclusive design is super important.
Exactly. I see it coming. I'm positive on this one. Anyway, I would definitely support and push for this. Makes a lot of sense. So we are at the end of it. Daniel, I would like to thank you a lot for taking the time to share your experience, to share your views, for the challenges and the best practices. Very interesting. So I would like to wish you all the best. We stay in touch, because innovation is we need to have the brain that connect together, everybody together. So thank you again. I hope that you liked, let's say, this weekly Pulse. Next week, we are going to have a guest from the US that is going to give us a view on innovation and structuration of innovation from Silicon Valley. So I'm very much looking forward for this one as well. And in 2 weeks from now, we are going to have also another view on a similar topic, but from Netherlands, from also a lady that is very much into this topic. So again, some great guests to come. Thank you again, Daniel. Thank you for the people that attended today. And have a great, great day. And we keep in touch.
Thank you, Sebastien. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Hmm.